You use up a lot of oxygen using this one. The most amazing laughter I can show you is ribcage laughter. You take your fingers like this, place them against your lower ribs. So did you hear him? Did you hear? Okay, thumbs
up. All right. All right.
A flying insect lands on a leaf, patiently rubs its bottom against the surface. Life is tough when you have no access to toilet paper. When you do, life is charming.
All right. Thank you, Walter.
It's a pleasure, Alex.
Welcome to Around One Fern. This is my show. So, Walter, you just talked for a bit about, or you did a demonstration of your laughter. Laughter. What do you call it?
It's called laughter yoga, but it's energy laughter yoga. Because
laughter.
one of the things that happens is that in a traditional laughter club, people walk around and laugh, and so the walking creates an incentive to laugh, and it's fake it till you make it. I've learned that some people cannot learn through fake it to make it.
Okay.
So walking around doesn't work for them. So I came up with all these amazing techniques, over a dozen of them. In fact, we're the only laughter club, as far as I know, in the world that teaches how to laugh over a dozen different ways through body movement. Laughter is a loss of control. So you just jumpstart laughing control. Another form of loss of control is talking. Some people, once they start talking, they can't stop. They keep moving, talking and talking and talking and talking. So this is an example of knowing how to jumpstart laughter.
Cool. Yeah. So it's super interesting to me because I've heard sort of bits and pieces about the benefits, physical, health, physical and sort of psychological benefits of laughter, of generally just laughing. But I haven't heard a lot about people sort of going through the motions of laughing for maybe getting that same benefit. So it kind of seems like what you've been demonstrating sort of seems like a way to get at that, maybe?
Well, all I know is that laughter is a really good form of exercise. But another thing about it is watching how the muscles in your body are moving. When I'm laughing, I'm not necessarily looking out. I lower my eyes. One of the things that I do is when I have people laughing, I have one person laugh at a time while everybody looks at them. And so one of the things that people learn is how good everybody looks when they're laughing. And I says, you can't see that because you're not looking at yourself. So I encourage people to look into a mirror, laugh, to see how good they look. And so when they're laughing, they remember the image of how they see themselves in the mirror. But again, the emphasis is, from my point of view, noticing the movement in the body, like in the chest. How automatically different parts of the body are moving. So it's like instant grooving motion when you are laughing. Laughing. So you get more enjoyment out of it.
Cool.
Cool.
So there's a researcher you mentioned. I think he's German or somebody that does.
Professor Beckman from Germany.
Professor Beckman. Do you know his or her first name?
I don't know his first last name, but he became famous by proving through his research with his students, he's a neuroscientist, that if you made a left fist, this would turn on the right side of your brain, left.
Left fist.
And
Okay.
and this controls movement. And he proved that you can get better bowling scores, archery scores. If you are playing a game and you feel nervous, all you have to do is make a left fist, and the nervousness disappears. So because I had so many people showing up that couldn't laugh, couldn't fake it till you make it, I tried this. And when I instructed people to make a left fist and laugh, they had no trouble laughing. Go ahead. One of the things that I would tell a person, I want you to inhale and exhale like strongly. Go ahead.
Oh boy.
Good. Okay, good. Now a short laugh. And make a left fist. Yeah, so you need a lot of training laughing because
Yeah,
you know
I'm a novice.
you're sort of like too controlling. It's ironic. It's the more
Well,
control.
it's kind of an unnatural. It's kind of an unnatural motion, I guess, to laugh to make yourself laugh when it's not just a gut response, you know.
Well, this is one of the things that happens. What happens if you actually forget to laugh? You just can't do it no matter what. You watch
Forget.
funny, yeah. If you forget, because there's a lot of pressure in the brain to say it's inappropriate, so I shouldn't do it. Neuroscience says that if you actually are doing something repetitive, neural pathways are created. So you actually create pathways in the brain
Yep.
that actually give you like the ability to write automatically or talk or walk. So what happens if you don't use those pathways for laughter, they disappear. Then all of a sudden you find yourself unable to laugh and you're always thinking how it's inappropriate. So how do you help somebody out like that without giving them booze or pot? I mean, you can have a technique that can do it. And it's true, it's unnatural, but what this...
So you sort of learn to laugh. Sorry to interrupt, but so this is sort of teaching your brain to laugh. You repeat the motion.
To activate the pathways that know how to laugh.
Okay.
So what you kind of like jump starting it, and one of the things about being super creative, we're talking about just creativity oozing out of your brain and mind and body, is that you have to learn that things get done for you. Laughter is something that gets done for you. Once you nudge it, all I'm doing is feeling the sensation as I'm laughing because something else is taking over. One of the things I can do is give it more instructions like tighten the muscles in the chest. This is what happens when actually people are uncontrollably laughing. And one of the things that happens if a person who is laughing that strongly tries to stop it, they wind up getting hurt because it causes muscle spasms.
Yikes.
And then
So use caution when approaching this technique.
well, use caution when you try to stop laughing. It's not when you use this technique. It's just any technique, anything that deals with laughter. When you try to stop it, it causes muscle spasms. It's like when you're freeform dancing, and then you're really into it and try to stop it. All of a sudden, you fall down because you were creating a natural flow, and then you try to stop that abruptly. So you can actually stop laughing by going, exhaling.
Okay. So we got a lot of good demonstration from the first part of this set where we shot, mostly you just giving your laughter spiel. I'd like to move a little bit to maybe let's talk about energy a little bit. You've talked to me a little bit about
Chi energy.
Chi energy. Okay.
So one of the things that I find strange is when I come across somebody who's Chinese and he doesn't know what Chi energy is. It's like meeting an Irish person that doesn't know what leprechaun is. China is where the origin of the awareness of Chi energy happened. So one of the things that happens when you become more and more conscious and aware and observant, which are basically the same words, when you are looking out, you become aware that you are not aware of any sensations in the body. Then you lower your eyes and you feel this gentle wind coming into your body, And the more of that wind comes in, the more sensations you have in your body. That at some point you make the connection. Wait a minute, that thing that's coming back is chi energy. Then you learn when that chi energy goes out and enters another person, you actually feel sensations coming out of them. People have that, like people who have mirror touch synesthesia, they can actually feel things in other people's bodies. There's over 1 million people that actually have this condition, which is a gift. And so
what's the condition? It's
called mirror touch synesthesia.
Mirror touch synesthesia.
Synesthesia can be a lot of different things.
Right. I'm familiar with synesthesia. You see sounds, or you hear colors, or you smell whatever. You mix your senses, right?
Yeah, mirror touch synesthesia has been kind of like identified as the ability to look at a person, or not even look at them, but feel sensations coming out of them. And so you can actually say, oh, you're in a depressed mood, you look very happy. It's like they feel sensations. There's a doctor, I don't remember his name, but he was on 60 Minutes, where he was able to diagnose patients that couldn't speak just by picking up sensations in their body.
So do you have this synesthesia, or do you?
Well, mine is like learned synesthesia. When I learned that energy coming into my body or going out like into another person like yourself is actually chi energy. Okay. So when I actually look at my hand, and feeling and looking and feeling sensations are different to the subconscious. If I feel my hands, I just feel it. But if I feel this consciousness looking at them, I feel chi energy enter the hand, and there's more and more and more sensations showing up in the skin and fingers. When I look at my forearm, I feel this chi energy moving in here, and there's more and more sensations in the forearm. So I've learned that you can actually tell where the chi energy is moving by looking at a body part, feeling the sensations, and you wind up with a condition when you actually are aware of traveling inside of your body. I can feel my back, I can feel my spine, I can feel my chest, legs, arms, hands. There are people who are not able to feel sensations in their body. They can't tell what their hands feel like, their feet feel like. Unless you meet somebody who's honest like that, you don't realize that the person you're looking at is mental. They have mental construct, but no ability to feel sensations. It's sort of like in the olden days, it was acceptable that a person is right-handed and mentally ill if they're left-handed. And I still know people that actually remember being considered mentally ill because they were left-handed.
Really?
And then all of a sudden now it's normal to be either right-handed or left-handed.
Right.
And it's also normal to kind of like, at some point even going to be more normal that you say to a person, well, you know, I'm more mental and I can't feel sensations in my body. Or somebody says, I can feel sensations in my body. I may not be quite as mental, but I feel sensations in myself, but I also feel sensations in others.
Okay, yeah, the left-hand thing is wild. That's a topic for another time, I think. But so you're so anyone can learn this sort of to connect with chi energy. Well, it sounds like you weren't born with it, but you kind of.
Well, I had a learning disability, and because of my learning disability, I was looking for other ways to learn.
What do you mind sort of elaborate? Like what kind of was it dyslexia, or I think you?
Well, I've had one of the most weirdest disability. I found out since that it's normal. I had straight A's in my first year and a half in college. I just couldn't understand what they were teaching. I could memorize text and figure out the answers to the question, but I couldn't understand what was this about. It wasn't until later when I was traveling inside of my brain and I found this little tiny spot. When I was aware of it, images would show up instantly, and that's what I was missing. And for myself anyway, I need text as well as images to create knowledge. Now it's much easier for me to learn because I have access to both.
Okay, so you found maybe you're kind of a visual learner. You do better with pictures.
I had no access to pictures before. Even if I tried, it's like nothing showed up except text.
So, all right. So you hit on two interesting things there, and it sounds like from when I've been talking to you in the past, it sounds like you are very visual in general. You see things in your brain. Things are clear to you when you see them, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's a little bit complicated, and I'll tell you why. I've worked with autistics, and I could never understand quite what their problem was. And I was having a second problem because I was teaching people how to
When you say you mean their problem with the
mentally,
world, or
mentally
with
thinking, their mental
processing?
processes. Okay. So one of the things that happened is I was teaching people how to travel in their brain, locate this little spot, and they would have really fast access to images. Not only that, but when they saw an image of a room, I said, just walk inside the room. Don't just look at the image, walk inside. And so people learned that they had the ability not only to be able to see a room visually in their brain, but to walk around inside the room and discover new things that normally they wouldn't even notice while being in the room itself.
So this is working with autistic children, or general?
This is general populace.
Yeah.
I have not tried this with autistics because of communication.
Yep.
But I was curious about why people weren't coming back to learn more about how this works. They would have these amazing mental abilities and wouldn't come back. And it just did not make any sense to me. So I spent months kind of like dwelling on it. And one day, I had an experience of an image showing up in the brain. So before this, I learned that the brain pulsates information, like an energy pulsation. So there was a pulsation.
You feel that, you see that, you learned it from a book?
That's a good question. I actually both feel and see it because I've learned how to be inside the brain. I pay attention to it from the back.
Okay, so from your own brain, you've kind of gone inside and noticed this happening.
It pulsates.
Okay.
People get confused about seeing, but if you actually close your eyes and touch the table here, you're actually seeing through touch. You may not be seeing it like the eyes see it, but you can feel the sensation so strongly that you are actually, in a different way, seeing it through touch.
Okay.
So I'm dwelling on this problem I'm having, and then one day I have this pulse in my brain, and this image shows up, and I'm looking at it, and I don't know what it is. And I'm like staring at it for about an hour trying to figure out where is that. Then there was another pulsation, and all this information showed up that said, that's an orange. I've always known what an orange was. But without that pulsation, the secondary pulsation, if the orange showed up, I wouldn't understand its concept. And that's when I understood the autistics get pieces of the information, but they don't get other information pulsating in their brain to explain to them what that is. Even a normal individual, I found out in conversation, they're talking and the information disappears. And they say, I forgot. For myself, being inside the brain, I said it just disappeared. And ironically, autistics can also say the same thing. This book that I'm reading about an autistic child, he talks about the information disappears. In order for information to disappear, you have to be aware of it, that it's there. And so that's what makes autistics a little bit different than normal people. They are more aware of the processes inside of them than a normal person.
Okay. So just to try to kind of touch on everything a little bit, just given our possibly limited time. So I want to talk about autism a little bit more in a minute. Sort of just right off the bat, though, something kind of I noticed and that other people, might notice as well, is this idea of energy might seem strange to people, right? Like people might have skepticism or sort of confusion to what you're talking about. And you've mentioned you've taught your sort of meditative techniques to people, and sometimes they don't come back, or they're weirded out by it or something.
Out of 100 people, maybe 1 or 2 will come back.
Okay.
But that's a lot of people you have to go through in order to have you show up. But the thing that's amazing, it's not because the experiment failed. They actually had experience traveling in their brain. They are aware of that spot that creates images very fast. They have a picture of a room and they can walk around with it. The other thing that's really amazing about this spot in the brain, if I'm aware of it and open up my eyes, everything is sharp looking. It's like I increase my ability to visually be able to notice things. And the only other way you can actually have this ability is through tightness. The more tight your body becomes, the more your visual acuity increases. And you might find this fascinating. I found out about this because, well, how important it is, because I went to a meditation group. For an hour, they'd be like, oh, this is great. This feels so wonderful. I feel so peaceful. And then they would open up their eyes, and they would all go into tension. I said, what's wrong with this picture? It's that visually, if you expect things to be sharp, your body will go into tension if it doesn't know any other way to create the same visual acuity. Really strange.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of address that because yeah, I think you have a unique sort of perspective and experience of the world. So.
Well, it was a survival technique. If I went to college, I'm getting straight A's, and I said, I don't get it. How do you tell a person you have a problem when you actually are getting straight A's? And actually people look up to you, and it's like, so I had to actually just go to school once a month to college and have a part-time job in electronics so I could keep working and figure out how I could actually understand that. But I could never be an engineer, and this is always...
Because you were able to sort of reproduce the material on tests, but you couldn't understand it, you're saying?
I couldn't understand it. No, it's like, fortunately, in working as a technician, you're repetitive. It's not everything is new, and it's all mechanical, touchy-feeling, and then you kind of figure out what's wrong. And over the years, I learned how to be a good technician, and so that was good, but it never sat right with me that I couldn't really understand more things. I would spend hours and hours memorizing 20 pages, and a few days later it would disappear, it would floating in my brain. I said, I can't learn. It's like, what's wrong with this picture? And so energy, the discovery energy, is when actually I feel people, all the information about them is coming into me. I don't need an explanation. I don't have to say, how are you? I'm feeling what the person feels like. We can have an interesting dialogue about, how are you? And they say something, and based upon the coloration of the sensations in their skin, typically if it's gray because they're under tension, so blood doesn't flow in the skin of the face, they talk about depressed things. If they have luminance, it's like light is showing up in their face. They talk about optimistic things, new things, they're very flexible. It's great not to be able to ask a person, hey, how are you? Then try to figure out what they mean by the words they use. Then you find out a month later they describe themselves differently. Then a month later they describe themselves differently. This way you just look at it and feel them. Hey, got it.
So before we get into autism, what was the discovery? Like, when did you travel to the middle of your brain? What was that?
Well,
what led to that discovery?
Well, I was working with a woman named Linda Clave, where we do a lot of experimentation. And
therapist or
she's a LindaClaveArts.com. She actually draws paintings.
So was this in college or?
Oh no, this was maybe like 10 years ago. I mean, I was out of college for like 20 more years,
and this was your sort of first discovery of energy? Of
travel. I was aware of energy because I was picking up sensations.
Okay, but you didn't have a name for it?
I didn't have it's chi energy, it travels, it picks up, and you meet people that have the same ability, so you are not solo. Mm-hmm. But this traveling in the brain was different because one day, and I've traveled in my brain, the way it works, your consciousness goes in and brings in chi energy with it. And the chi energy activates sensations, so the actual travel in the brain is actually created by chi energy and consciousness traveling. So you actually feel like you're traveling and where you are located. And it was just this little tiny spot, and neuroscience has talked about it, that there's a spot that a lot of meditators are able to find that gives them peace and serenity. But I didn't realize when I found it that that was the same location. All I knew is that images were showing up, pop, 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 pop. I'd be just grooving for a month, just image after image. But I would always start in the back, travel to the center. I would always start in the back to remind myself that I was traveling there. I didn't want to just be there in the middle because I enjoy the sensations of traveling. And so it was great. And one day I'm having an image of my house, and I find an image. In that image, I'm physically a person that looks like me walking toward the house, goes inside and starts walking around all the rooms and looking at them. Stuff is great for finding keys. All you have to do is lower your eyes and show me where the keys are. And then the image shows up. The trick is that you have to kind of like admit that something is creating this for you. It does not work if you think you're doing it. And I had no trouble admitting that something was doing it because I discovered it and was doing it for me and I loved it. Less work for me, and I love it.
Cool. So, all right. So before, I think maybe just to stay on sort of a track, we'll wrap up with you were going to do a demonstration. Before we get to that, just give me a general sense. I've looked at your website, walterness.com. That
Ton of stuff there.
You kind of have a wide range of things that you do.
Well, I always say, you know, success moves you in one direction, failure in every direction. And that's basically my failure caused me to go here and here and here and here and here and here and here. And so I encourage, fail first.
There's music, there's
comedy.
I actually found it. I don't know if you wrote this book, but there's it looks like romance or like lines about sort of equating menus to desire, or sort of how to sort of philosophy of living maybe, or philosophy of romance. Is this something you wrote? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Geez, I've got
the joy of
kidding.
There's the joy of kidding, yeah.
Joyofkidding.com. I learned how to make websites. That was my first website. I took a lot of my jokes, made cartoons out of them, and it's all about humor. I mean, relationships are tougher than the Dickens. You've got two people from two different realities trying to coexist in one place, and there's going to be points of friction. Maybe not in the first 2 years when you're still in love, but then after a while you start noticing there's really big differences. The energy phenomena, the style that I have, does not have per se a philosophy behind it. It's if you are in this area of the body, then something happens. Like if I am hanging out consciously inside of my chest, again, consciousness travels. I can't get pulled into people's psychodrama. I hear people telling me their hard luck stories, and I don't get pulled into, oh, I'm sorry, gee. It's just like I feel it, and I feel comfortable. You have your life, I have mine, and it's really great to be able to have these abilities.
Okay, so, but just, do you know in the joy of kidding, maybe you haven't visited this in a while, but
I have a lot of different ones.
Yeah, is that something you wrote, or is that?
Right, all that material is mine.
Okay.
In fact, actually, it's going to be the second part of the website, because we're going to turn that website into a performance troupe.
Okay. So, I guess last thing I want to do is you've spoken to me about how you've had some experience working in mental health facilities and sometimes with autistic people.
Yes, I liked it. But the first thing I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, here's how I was thinking, how am I ever going to teach this? All I had to do is say the words, and it would happen for people. Since I didn't have the ability to teach this, it meant that there's an intelligence in there that causes traveling to occur. So the way I would do it is I would say, close your eyes, no effort, no concentration. Feel the area behind your head. Are you aware of it? If yes, start traveling toward the very center of your brain. There you will find a little tiny spot that generates a peaceful signal. You do not create it, you just find it. To prove to yourself you are there, think of 3 different people. As fast as you can think of them, that's how fast an image will show up. Now that you can have images showing up, have an image of a room show up. Just ask. Say which room, like bedroom, living room. Now that you see this room, even a room, the room you're working at the place of your workplace, you will not only see the room, but all the people, and start walking around and see what you notice about your colleagues. See what you'll notice in your living room. And people would have a wonderful time looking around. Then I would say, start again from the back, travel to the center of the brain. As you pay attention to this little tiny area, open your eyes. And when they open their eyes, everything became sharper looking. And that's the simple thing that I would say to them. Nothing complicated about this. You just say the words to another person and it happens. Doesn't happen to everybody, But people who are more flexible in their attitude, more flexible with their emotions and body awareness will have this experience. The thing that I'm trying to understand is why they don't understand how important this is. You look at your phone, you look at your computer screen, you love it, look in your brain, doesn't mean anything. It's like something is disconnected there that does not allow people to say, hey, this is a really great skill to have.
Are you going to touch my head? Are you going to touch my head?
I want to explain to you about autism because, it's like I was working at this mental group home as a residential counselor, and they were concerned about this guy named Fred, again, not his real name, because he'd be asleep all night long. He would come downstairs and apparently sleep in his fold-out chair. And they said, well, he's sleeping all night and all day long. So I went over, and there was another staff in the room, and I sent my energy into his body, that mirror touch synesthesia, where you feel something in another person. And I'm kind of sensing and feeling what's going on inside of him, and I tell the other staff, he's not asleep. He's studying people with his eyes closed. As soon as I said that, he jumped out of the chair, and he said, that's what I'm doing. I'm studying people with my eyes closed. Now, I don't know if you know anything about autistics. It's like when you say something to them, that information is able to stay in their brain for a little while, and they can analyze it and react to it. Then if it disappears, then they have no reaction because they don't know how to bring it back.
Okay.
So that was my first experience with working with an autistic with just mirror touch synesthesia. But because I was working in a factory and I was bored testing, and between tests, you just sit around for the machine to tell you it's finished. I started doing this. Started touching acupressure points on top of my head and studying them. And I did this for months. And I had a chance to use this on a autistic. He'd be like this in the clinic where he was having his day classes, and he would never tell people why. People would ask him, why are you doing this? And he would never say anything. So I started doing this technique on his brain, giving him a choice. Is it first spot, second spot, as far as which one he liked? Not only did his face change, he started looking a little bit older, more mature, but when we were actually finished, I asked him, why are you like this? And he said, protection. He did not elaborate, but I'm a clairvoyant. I see energies. If he sees what I see without anybody being able to talk to him about it, I'm sure it scares the shit out of him because he sees a different kind of reality. He's seeing energetic reality. And I feel autistics have that ability. They pick up sensations, and a lot of them have the same ability. So I'm going to actually do that test on you, that actual mind expanding.
Real quick, 2 quick questions.
Yes.
One, just to clarify, clairvoyance. You think most autistics are, or all autistics are, or maybe they have some awareness of energy the way you do, but they don't have the faculties to deal with it?
Well, nobody talks about it. It's like when I was working for the Civil Rights Project, there was a lawyer there who called me into her office, because I would always talk about energy. I always talk about energy. And she said, when I was young, I had the same abilities as you, but nobody talked about it, so I stopped having them. The social pressure of having these abilities, plus, if you pick up vibes from people, you will find a lot of times you're picking up the vibes of the body, not of the person's psyche. So as you say something to the person, you wind up with an argument. So I feel not only do autistics have a greater ability to perceive energy, but so does everybody else, but they don't want to get into arguments. Okay. And so they don't know how to say,
right.
Look,
they don't know how to talk about it.
Talk about it, so.
Do you want like-minded people to contact you, or is this sort of, is there an email address?
I'm easy to find, walterness.com.
Okay.
Email address, you can go to somervillelaughterclub.com, laughter_guy@msn.com, walterness@msn.com. I welcome people to show up and explore this. I am looking for individuals who can say, wow, I can do that. I can look inside my brain and I can activate things. That's really great. So that's what I'm looking for, especially if you have an autistic child. I tried doing these showcases to other parents who have autistic children, and they couldn't grasp the concept. So they said, no, I don't want you working with my son or daughter. I need somebody who can sit down, have me show them on their own head how this works, how to be aware of chi energy. Then we take that ability and apply it to your son or daughter who has autism.
It's a delicate exercise, I think, because as you mentioned before, a lot of autistic people don't like to be touched, especially by strangers. So
that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'll let you finish in a minute. I just want to sort of have the disclaimer out there.
Great.
Maybe this video, you can kind of get an idea of what kind of things you're talking about, and people can make an informed decision if they want to try your method. But at least this will give people an idea of maybe that's for me, maybe that's not for me.
Yeah, if it's not for you, stay away from it because it takes up my time. I don't want my time taken up.
Okay. Sorry, you're going to say autistic people don't like to be touched.
Yeah. So I had a situation. I was a friend of mine, Linda. She was a therapist, and she invited me to her clinic where there was an autistic child. We made a deal with the parent, the mother, to observe the operation of how I do this technique. And she said he does not like being touched. He will scream and react violently if you touch him. And they were late, so that's how I wound up working on that autistic, that his hands like that, but his parents weren't interested in this process. So I told my friend Linda, we're going to go inside the room, and I'm going to take your hand, let me have your hand, and I'm going to actually transmit energy into it. You can make a fist on mine. I'm going to transmit energy into your hand and watch the autistic watch me. So I'm sending this energy into her. She's energy sensitive because she was my student for a while. And so I'm sending this energy into her. I let go and I look at the autistic, and he has his hand out like, do me next. So that problem of being touched disappeared. So this was my proof. I said to her, if he's really energy sensitive, he's going to see what I'm doing to you. He's going to see me transmitting energy into your hand, and he's going to want the same thing. So once he stuck his hand out, I transmitted energy into him, and then I started doing this technique where I would offer him a choice, first spot or second spot, to be aware of. It actually knocked him out. And when he came to, he went over to his mother.
When you say knocked him, he went to sleep?
And when he came to, maybe 5 minutes later, he went over and tried to say, I love you to my mother. She couldn't, to her, it didn't mean anything. But to me, it's like he was trying to do something different, a little bit more emotional, more connection. She and her husband said no to it. So this has been a problem, is I need people who are consciously aware of how mind-body works, can actually look at the situation, and me not only doing this to the autistic person, but also to the parents and children of the household, so that everybody learns how to do it, so that I don't have to come back. They can actually do this on their own. From individuals that I have shown this to who are not autistics, they've applied it to their kids, and their kids love it. They are totally amazed. If you actually have a hyperactive child, do this to them, and they'll calm down. They'll start get hyperactive again, but it's continuous training of, okay, I'll do this for a while. You learn to calm down, become hyperactive, calm down. It's a really great technique. Doesn't cost anything. All it takes is 2 fingers.
All right, yeah, let's do it, and then we can wrap. Watch out for the cable over there.
So one of the things that's good, if you can get his face on this. So this is a very simple thing. Tell me which spot you like best, first or second, first or second, first or second.
I think first.
Okay, have the sensations come into your body.
Okay.
First or second, first or second, first or second.
Second.
Have the sensations come into your body. First or second, first or second.
Second.
Have the sensations come into your body. First or second, first or second.
Second.
Have the sensations come into your body. I put a little gentle pressure on first or second, so it's like they feel it. And what I found out a long time ago about this process is if I don't give people a choice, they can't tell what the point feels like. If I just put my finger there, how does that feel? The person says, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say first or second, they switch into a different mindset and they start analyzing the different areas of the brain. First or second.
Okay.
First or second.
I'm going to go with second.
You have the sensations come into your body. The area over here down the middle is the most exciting. First or second. First or second. First or second.
I'm going to say first.
Have the sensations come into your body. That's how simple it is. Now we're going to show you one other little exercise. It's a simple exercise. I have to kind of like get a cup for this one. So I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Bryan, can you give me a little plastic cup over by the water machine? How was that?
It's interesting.
Your face looks different, by the way. You can see, you'll see it on the video thing.
Yeah, it was kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
Like a head massage, sort of.
You can mention that when it comes back.
Okay.
And it's so simple. It's nothing complicated about it. It doesn't cost you any money to be able to do it on your, do it to a friend or children. So this is the. And I'm going to touch your palm and show you how I can look inside your brain.
Are we still rolling? Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. We just got a candid reaction from me. We're almost done, by the way. Thanks, Bryan.
So in my experimentation of different things, what I discovered that if you take your hand and put it on your forehead and make like a square movement, I feel it's very precise with the cup. And I'll give you the cup when you were finished.
Okay.
When I put my hand on top of my head, I notice the precision is not as strong anymore. If I place my hand behind my head, it's like, yeah, it's there, but I'm losing interest in it. This is amazing because this actually shows that you can actually, just like you can activate the right side of your brain by using a fist, you can actually activate different brain parts and notice the function. Now, some people can tell the difference that based upon where you place your hand, the movement changes, and some people can't. This is the thing that I was talking about, that there are people who are physically aware of the sensations in their body, but people who are mental, this exercise won't mean anything to them. So let's see if Alex can actually get this done. So one hand goes on the forehead.
Doesn't matter which.
Try it. Try both ways. But forehead forehead.
All right.
Up front. Then make a square with it. Raise it up so you can actually watch how.
Okay.
Can you notice how precise that is?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Put it on top of. Put the other hand. Put the hand on top of your head. Okay, and do the same movement. What do you notice?
I don't know. It almost feels more precise.
More precise for you? Okay, use the back of the hand.
Maybe I'm just getting better at it, though.
No.
I'm not sure.
So, let me have this. So the reason why exercise is important because you can give it to a whole room of people, and some people like Alex won't know can't see the difference, and others will notice exactly that something has changed. The way you look at it has changed.
So what's changing for you?
Right here, I feel like a precision, like stop and start. Over here, it's like it stops, but it's like it's more fuzzier looking. The whole situation is fuzzier looking. It's not as precise. And over here, because I have my hand back here, it activates the brain part. And then I find myself kind of like losing track of it. the more I pay attention to the back of my brain, the less I'm interested in how this goes. This allows precision of awareness. This lack of precision of physical awareness. And I actually had this pasted on some science bulletin board where you can actually place discoveries. And one person said it's amazing how it always works. Another person who saw that sent me an email saying, you're teaching voodoo science. So this is the extremes. One person is able to travel in their brain and feels comfortable about it. Another person, it's voodoo science. So we're having like the separation, the right-hand person, the left-hand person. We finally accepted you can be right-handed or left-handed. Now the next challenge comes in that you can have these amazing traveling experiences in your body and your brain, and you're one type of a person, and you can't do it, you're another person. The trouble is the people who are actually saying this is voodoo science are scientists. They can't do the traveling. I've presented it to neuroscientists, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. What they would say is, well, everybody has their own experience. Well, if everybody has their own experience, that's great, but they can all travel in their brain and study it from the inside. And that's the most amazing thing. The other amazing thing is people can't seem to grasp how important it is. Because of a learning disability, instantly I knew, wow, this is really great. I can travel in my body, I can study myself, I can send out energy into people, pick up their vibes, I can learn about different people, different situations. And this was just the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, this is really great. By the way, Alex was able to travel in his brain. We did this.
I did. I experienced, we did sort of a meditative thing where you had me start in the back of my brain and sort of go into the middle and then go, you said to like right behind my eyes, and it's kind of a nice sort of, to me it was like very like meditative, you know?
Yeah, so this discovery about the hanging out behind the eyes, because you can go anywhere. This chi energy travels in your body, whether you're aware of it or not. In fact, it goes where the activity is. So one day I'm just minding my own business, and I become aware of this traveling energy on its own, travel and touch the nerves behind my eyes. And I say, you can do that? So one of the things I would do is I would have people touch the nerves behind their eyes.
You mean in sort of a mental exercise?
Is an exercise of traveling to show themselves that not only are you traveling inside the body, but you are affecting its behavior. You can actually touch the nerves inside of your body with chi energy. In fact, one of the things I was always curious about is what causes people to start having shakes. Because I would see a lot of that in the mental health field. Then I noticed when a person was uncertain, they would start shaking. The less uncertain they were, if you had a tiny amount of uncertainty, it created worse shakes. If the uncertainty was really large, the shaking wasn't that great. It made no freaking sense why a little bit of uncertainty would create shaking. So what I noticed is that the nerves would be vibrating very fast in the shaking. So what I would do is bring the energy into the nerves and calm them down.
Do you mean through sort of voice-guided thing?
No,
or?
just knowing how. I mean,
you mean from sort of remote?
No, from here. It's for myself.
Ah, for yourself. For yourself.
Like,
okay.
Let's say I'm working, and all of a sudden I start shaking, and I notice my supervisor is next to me. So I would just lower my hands, send chi energy into my nerves, and calm them down.
Okay.
And it's a simple technique. I had a woman who was shaking because of medication, and what I did, can I have your palm? So what I did is I would touch one spot, and I said, have this little spot be calm, and all the shaking disappeared. Of course, a couple of minutes it came back, because again, if that uncertainty is creating shakes, then how do you stop being uncertain? I mean, the way I can do it is like, my name is Walter Ness, I'm sitting over here being videotaped, that you're saying something certain, and so. But I want to show you another ability that I have.
Okay, and then we should start wrapping up, because you got to do it somewhere. It sounds like you got a lot of stuff though. So if people are are interested, walterness.com. Check him out.
Check him out.
Get in touch with this guy. He's got a lot of things going on.
If nothing else, I can teach you how to laugh. So I accidentally touched a friend's palm, who is also psychic, and I got all these visions about his wife, ex-wife, because he was going through a divorce. And I said, I wonder if you can use this ability to transmit information or study what's going inside of a person. So I'm going to touch Alex and look inside of his brain. Now this part over here is laid back, very laid back. His body wants to go into other areas. It's like he wants to get out of here. He doesn't show it, but he's got other things he wants to do. And he has a visual, there's two parts in his brain to turn on when he's got a project. So you can actually very clearly see what the project is going to be. Now, the thing that's fascinating, when I actually cause travel to occur, or when the travel occurs going toward the center of the brain, it's a straight line. But if I actually look inside of my brain, the energy splits into two areas. And one part of the chi energy goes into the right side of the brain, and the other one goes into the exact same spot on the left. I think it's just fascinating. And again, this is for people who are not controlling. If you are controlling how your reality is created, if you say, I create this, I create the image, this is not the right thing for you. Because it's about accepting that something in there, an intelligence in there, creates things for you. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I can't argue with any of your readings. I do have to go to the bathroom, so. All right, thanks, Walter.
Yeah, we end on a pisser.